Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's a lovely rainy morning in northern Nevada, which is a bit unusual for us, but certainly the plants are loving it. The dogs are a little bit less thrilled, but they do enjoy cuddling inside. And since my husband is actually out this morning having coffee with one of his brothers, you may hear some snoring in the background from Twinkle, and we may have a Mosie wandering in explaining that she's a dog who has never, ever, ever had a walk, and now would be a good time to start. So, fair warning for that. Very low key today, obviously. I've got my about to work all day clothes on, and yeah, just a quiet Saturday, so I'm excited to spend some of it with you. Jumping right in, we have stitching in action, and Joanne stitched the Merry Meerkats, which is officially Holiday Card 2023, but I think most people call it the Merry Meerkats. And I love her finish. I love the macaron fabric on the back and the way she used the buttons and chenille to make it into something that could hang but doesn't have to. If she wanted to set it in a bowl, that chenille would just be hidden in the back, and I really love this finish. I also love the fact Joanne shared that she got an advent box from, oh, I gotta get it right here. Let's see, Tiger Lily Designs. And in that box was a Fa La La design from Liz Matthews, which started her on the fun project of stitching Fa La La designs in general, but also that came with some assorted fabric and threads in that sort of pinky purple palette, and so she was able to mix and match those with some of the called for this design, and I think it just showcases it's a great representation of our community and the wonderful resources that we have available now, so that all of those different elements come together to make something that's unique for Joanne, and I just love that. So thank you so much, Joanne, for sharing. Also, now I want to look up all the Fa La La designs and stitch them myself too, so there's that. As always, if you've stitched a blue flower design, I'd love to hear from you. Drop me an email with a picture so I can talk about it, and if you're looking for ideas, there's a spot called Stitching in Action on the website where you can see what other people have done and be inspired for yourself. What I'm stitching. I got a little bit of personal stitching done. Yay. I have been working on the Things of Spring, part of the whole Things of series, and I think last time I had just done the umbrella, the sweater, and part of the book, maybe the trowel. So I've actually gotten a few more elements in. I'm going to put a photograph up because it's a little bit hard to see it with all of the lights, so I'll just put that in here. But it's been a treat, and I love doing one little element. I got, the basket, and I finished the book, and I did the little sampler thing, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to being able to stitch more on that. Right now I'm back into model stitching for summer, so it might be a little bit before I get back to that, but it's been a real treat. On to Stash Spotlight. As I said in the last video, I tend to come home from market with quite a few things. In many ways, it's sort of like our annual trade show, and so there's a lot, and a lot of it comes home with me. But I'm breaking it up over different videos so it's not overwhelming. Last time I talked about some of the tools and supplies that I got. This time I'm going to talk about some of the charts, not all of them, but it's always a treat. And very often when I'm buying charts at market, I'll buy one for me and one for giveaway later. So that way you'll see them maybe coming up. First one I got this is one of the Jenny Bean samplers from Shakespeare's Peddler, and it's called Green Bean. And I had seen the design before, but seeing it in person is always better, and I'm such a sucker for green. It's stitched in this beautiful fabric that's a darker green than it looks, and it just really sets off everything. And with gardening being so much on my mind, I loved the green bean theme, so that's what I'm really looking forward to doing. Next up, this is called Beasts, Birds, and a Berry Tree from my sister's sampler, and some of you may know why this appealed to me so much. That will, of course, be a greyhound, but again, in person, I love the colors on this. It's got these very rich cobalt blues and reds, and it's a lot of fun, so I'm looking forward to that one. Next up, this is from October House Fiber Arts, Pollinator's Garden. I love the unique long pillow finish. I love just those beautiful little flower motifs. It'd be a fun stitch, a quick stitch, a nice way to fill out a bowl. I'm looking forward to that. Then We have Living on the Hedge. Last year at market, I got the Hedge Hug, which was adorable, and I also got an extra one for giveaway. This year, the design is Living on the Hedge, and there's the hedgehog with the little moped, and just super cute. So this one is from the Elegant Thread, and I'm really looking forward to stitching that. And then finally for this video, you may have followed along with the Greyhound Santa on last year's Stitching Greyhounds project. This year from Dirty Annie Southern Style, there's the German Santa. And actually our very first dog was a big German Shepherd mix, so I am looking forward to that one. I have no idea if I'll change things, but we'll see. And then also from Dirty Annie's, I got these two. Let's get a good view. You've got the Hissing Booth and the Kissing Booth. And I don't know if I would do them separately. I love the finish she did, although I'd have to learn to do that. Or maybe even back to back so I can flip them over depending on the day and the mood. So that's a bit of what I picked up at market, and yeah, lots and lots of fun stuff. On to the world around. This year, you know, it feels like it's flying, but it's not quite that fast. This video, I wanted to talk about the Russian thistle, and I'll put a little picture in here. At first glance, it looks like, honestly, a lot of other desert flowers. Pretty thin stems, little spiky, small flowers, ready for this harsh environment. No big deal. However, this is part of a large group of plants across the world that have an unusual seed dispersal system. At the end of their life cycle, the entire plant breaks away from the roots, leaves the roots in the ground, and the plant itself goes rolling across the landscape to disperse the seeds. So the humble Russian thistle, native to the Ural Mountains in Eurasia, actually is the icon of the West in a lot of ways, the tumbleweed. So you may have seen these plants in movies. It's become almost a cliche. Well, it is a cliche that the tumbleweed is the West, and yet this is an invasive species that was brought over in a load of grain at the end of 1800s and has just been remarkably successful here in its native habitat. Again, this is a really useful seed dispersal mechanism when it's a plant in an area with wide open spaces, because it can just roll wind powered to a new location and disperse those seeds as it goes. And of course, when it arrived here, it was at a time when we were removing all of our native prairie grasses, creating vast amounts of disturbed soil, and the tumbleweed was able to really get a foothold and is very successful in those conditions. I did read that it isn't a great competitor against our native plants if the soil isn't disturbed. So that's another good motivation for us to keep our native plants happy and healthy. But until then, we have tumbleweed all over the West, and they are very interesting. Again, they have this unique to this group of plants, seed dispersal mechanism where they roll, and the seeds themselves are special in that they don't have a tough shell the way that a lot of seeds do, and they don't have a food supply the way that a lot of seeds do. They essentially have a very small embryonic plant with a thin membrane coating, and so the way that they survive being dispersed without a lot of support in this harsh environment is that they don't germinate at all until it's warm enough. And so it's really interesting. I had no idea. They do have something of a role in our food supply. Animals ranging from the size of mice to bighorn sheep will eat the young plants of Russian thistle or tumbleweed, but they really don't give enough to make up for what they take, which is the competition. And they can suck a lot of water out of the environment without putting too much back in. They are pretty amazing when they go tumbling. The plants themselves can range in size from something small, like a soccer ball, all the way up to the size of a small car, honestly. And because they're wind-powered, and you know how wind behaves, they go rolling and rolling, and then they can form big drifts. And actually, it was just a couple weeks ago, happens fairly often, but just a couple weeks ago, towns in Nevada and Utah were inundated with these drifts of tumbleweeds roaming up, and they catch on whatever they can catch on. They're spiky, they catch on each other, so they come into your town area, and there are lots of things for them to catch hold of. And so they form big drifts, like snowdrifts, only of these spiky, extremely flammable shrubs. So yeah, I don't know that many people would love the tumbleweed. I think it's pretty amazing, and in its native habitat, it probably has a lot of really positive uses. But here in the West, although it is often a representation of the West and the wide open space, it is in fact not something that I'm very fond of. So if you're watching a Western and you see the tumbleweeds rolling across the landscape, you'll know that there's a little bit more to it than just freedom and open space. Questions. Last video I was asking about your favorite garden plant, and it was so fun to hear what everybody's growing or what they're looking forward to growing. We have a little seed starting operation in our garage for the first time this year with the heating mats and the special lights, so I go check on those every day to make sure they have water and see what's starting to sprout. And this video, the question that I had was, what's your favorite movie monster? My son and I have been looking forward to the new Godzilla movie because that's something that I think we would both enjoy, but it got me thinking about movie monsters. And I had a job for a long time when I was in high school and college, working at a hotel and working not the overnight shift, but the late shift. And so there was a lot of downtime. And back in the day, there was cable. So I've watched a lot of B movies, just so many B movies. And some of my favorite movie monsters come from those. Like I'm very fond of those giant ants in They. I like the enormous killer rabbits in Night of the Lepus. I like Predator from those old movies, although I'm not wild about Alien, but I do like Predator. So I was just curious if you like any of the movie monsters. I wanted to hear from you. Best thing. It's so nice to be home. I'm getting my feet under me again for market. I wasn't even sure for a while if I would have summer releases, but I will. So that's good. Nice to be sort of back on track again. And I'm packing up this weekend the kits for the Quilter station, which I'm actually really excited about. It gives me a couple weeks to recover and then be excited to go chat with Stitchers again. And that is in Kansas City next month. I'm pretty excited about the design, so I hope that the Stitchers there enjoy it as much as I do. And if you're interested, I know there are still some spots available, so you can reach out to Rita at the Quilter station to get more information about that. And for those of you who are going, I'm very excited to see you. On to giveaway. Last video, it was these lovely Lady Liberty scissors from the Scissorist. Let me get a better view. There we go. And the winner of these is Stacy Cooper, who is at StacyCrease5826. So Stacy, drop me an email and I will get these in the mail to you. Then for the giveaway this week, I'm going to do Living on the Hedge, and this one is still in the packet, so it's a little glary. But if you would like to use the word live or live, depending on how you want to pronounce that, in your comments, I'll draw a winner for the next video. That's actually it for me today. I'm wrapping it up quickly, again, before Posie comes in and demands her due for the morning stroll. We have a little puppy video at the end, and I'm off to go pack up kits for the rest of the weekend. So I hope you have a lovely weekend, whatever you're doing. I know many of you are celebrating the Easter holidays, and I look forward to seeing you again in a couple of weeks. Bye.